Welcome to Ripple Effect Connection. I'm your host, Kristi Hujik. Today, Megan Rupp and I are diving headfirst into one of the hottest topics in health, seed oils. And everybody's got an opinion. You may not understand why these oils are so controversial, so we're breaking it down with a simple guide to help you understand the risks and why not all seed oils are created equal. The research is stacking up on the negative health effects of consuming too many of these oils, especially when they're in processed foods. In this episode, we'll discuss one of the most critical ratios for your health, the balance of omega-6s found in seed oils to omega-3s found in foods like fatty fish, and why supplementation is likely needed for many. We will introduce you to an easy at-home test that can show if you're consuming too many omega-6s. Plus, I want you to listen up. We're sharing a critical number that can lower your risk of sudden cardiac death by a staggering 90%. The kicker? The seed oils aren't just in your food. They're creeping into other parts of your life too. But don't worry, Megan has taken matters into her own hands, and she's got a solution. Back to the podcast in the flesh, Megan Rupp. And we got lots to talk about today. I'm always looking at this saying, how do we squeeze this into a half hour? But we'll do our best to get as close as we can. We're going to dive right in, Megan. We're going to dive right in. We're tackling seed oils today. It's a big topic. We can't really waste a lot of time. Seed oils have been a hot button topic for quite a while. For the most part, being used, what I would say, in a non-healthy manner because of the way we live in this day and age. The argument that people tend to lean on, right, is the pro-seed oil group is going to say, there's these studies that say the body needs polyunsaturated fats, omega-6 fatty acids. Not untrue. However, it's the amount. So context matters. So we're going to hear a lot about context today. Megan, should this really be a black and white two-sided issue, in your opinion, and kind of explain what you know about seed oils?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that we have to break down for the listener is, what are seed oils? Because I think that topic is so interesting because you have people who are listening to the news in the media or listening to their doctors and they don't even know what seed oils are. So first is always educate yourself. So seed oils are what they sound like. They're oils extracted from the seeds of various plants. They're commonly used in cooking, sometimes in skincare, industrial applications, and it's usually like soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower, cotton seeds, safflower. And the issue here is more, how are these oils made? And they are usually made through an industrial process method that involves high heat extraction and then chemical solvents like hexane. And they're high in these polyunsaturated fats, like you mentioned, particularly omega-6 fatty acids, which, like you said, our body needs and our body has known since the dawn of time, since we've been around. But the issue here isn't that it is a seed oil. It is how we have really, if I could say, bastardized the process of making the seed oil, using the high heat, using chemical solvents, refining it, which can then degrade these beneficial nutrients and even create harmful byproducts that we're then consuming or putting on our skin. So these seed oils may contain and do contain small amounts of vitamins, antioxidants, but usually the process of making them in large quantities can strip these away and actually make them unhealthy.
Yeah, and I think, like Megan said, there's the context. There's we're having too many things with these seed oils, which means our ratio's off, and we're going to get into that in a second. There's a chemical process that's taking place when a lot of these are made. That's a problem if these seed oils go rancid. And then, we're talking about them primarily being in processed foods, and guess what? America's consuming a lot of fast food, processed foods. So we're going to talk about that. So the context, of course, we're going to keep hitting that home. The context matters. Of course, polyunsaturated fats are healthy for the body, not in these amounts. So the seed oil controversy here involves a ratio. What is the ratio supposed to be? And what is it more like in this day and age?
Yeah. And that's the thing, the ideal omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. And you and I have talked about this a lot because we want to research, we want to provide the right information for our clients and ourselves. And I think we can agree on this because of a lot of research you and I have done based on people way smarter than us, is that the ideal omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is around 1 to 1. But these modern diets often have a ratio of 10 to 1, omega-6 leading the charge, or higher. And it's due to, like you said, these industrial seed oils that are now in every single packaged food because it keeps it shelf stable. And I think that's where the issue is. So the ratio is the issue here as well. And we have the average American who balks at eating things like sardines and clams and oysters and scallops. And that's a whole nother issue, because then not only do you have these dominant industrial bastardized seed oils that are heavy in omega-6s, but you have no omega-3s. And I know you have a lot to say about that, because omega-3s is one of your favorite topics and you're always reminding me about them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my eyes were open to it. Like, I knew it was important, but then, like, as I got into my schooling deeper and deeper, I'm like, it is amazing, like, what's happening here. And like you said, the ratios are so out of whack. If it's supposed to be 1 to 3 to 1, it's more like 10, 15. We both saw research in different places that say different things. We talked about the Inuits, that, like, the ratio there was actually 1 to 4 in the opposite direction.
Yep.
And that back for those people, pre-industrial, it was associated with a 70% decrease in mortality. So, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So that is something you want to pay attention to. So we're going to link up a couple studies about this in the show notes that you can see. But I think that the number I like to point out, that the statistic that shocked me, that I think makes everyone kind of stop in your tracks. I think almost everyone, especially 35 and over, could benefit from an omega-3 supplement. Because most of us, I would say a vast majority of us, are not getting enough in our diet. Like, I eat my own fair amount of fish. I eat sardines. I know you do. I eat salmon. I eat trout. You know, I get a vast amount, I think a pretty good amount of omega-3s. And my ratio was still not where we would want it to be. When I studied as an integrative health practitioner under Dr. Cabral, the number that he talked about that I just could not believe was that the total omegas, which our omega-3 test will tell you, it'll actually break down all the different types of omega-6s, linoleic acid, arachidonic acid, like all of those things. So you'll see the breakdown of it on this lab, even if you paid attention to no other number. If a person has a total omega-3 greater than 9%, it equals a 90% risk reduction for sudden cardiac death. Okay? That's startling to me. So that made me really, like, come to attention. So if someone's looking to, let's say, incorporate, let's take the other side of it. We're minimizing processed food. We're trying to take out the omega-6s. What are the omega-3s that people should try to look for to add to their diet that would help that?
Yeah. And that's the thing. The right omega-3s are going to come from grass-fed beef, which when I tell people that, they're always a little bit surprised, but that's the big thing, is there are more omega-3s in grass-fed beef. And then there's fish, any type of fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, anchovies, shellfish. There's even some omega-3s in eggs. And again, the better quality of how the eggs were gathered, the better quality of how the chicken was treated on the time that they laid the eggs, higher amount of omega-3s. And can you get some of these from plant compounds? Sure, but I always like to remind people it's just not as bioavailable. It's not the same thing. So making sure you're having these really food-dense omega-3s is a big deal, and supplementing, like you said, because this whole thing with these omega-6s is they are associated with everything from insulin resistance to obesity, liver stress, and a big thing is female hormones. If we don't have the right amount of omega-3s and we have this overabundance of the omega-6s, we're going to have hormonal dysfunction as well as women, because our bodies can't create the proper hormones.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say omega-6s are important. They help promote inflammation, like when you need it, to heal infection, to heal an injury. But the problem is, again, it's that ratio. Omega-3s and omega-6s use the same enzyme. So when omega-6s are dominating the scene, then we get this chronic versus acute inflammation. Omega-3 fats, on the other hand, are producing compounds that reduce inflammation. So again, it makes sense. If there's an overabundance of omega-6s, the dominant thing is inflammation. Like, I even don't understand the other sides of that, because, like, that's a fact. That's kind of how they work and how they operate. And just to hammer home the idea of still being able to get a good enough level without a supplement. Dr. Cabral has looked at hundreds of thousands of labs. He's a lab junkie. He looks at every lab that comes through there. Hundreds of thousands of these omega-3 inflammation tests. He said The only person he has ever seen come through the door who had the proper amount of total omegas without supplementation was a woman who was eating sardines 4 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I am not doing that. And I eat sardines.
Nope.
I just picked some up at Costco today. I picked them up. I eat them, but I would say a good week is maybe 2 packages of sardines a week. That's a good week in my book.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember being a patient at the clinic and Andrea saying to me, you need to eat sardines, to support the thyroid. And I was like, no, not doing it. And then I finally found a way that I liked them. And now I do it more often. I feel like I need to do it at least once a week, but I'm getting my salmon at least a couple times a week. So I would be close. I would be at 3, but I'm taking an omega-3 supplement. And the first thing that I give someone who is dealing with a lot of inflammation is probably suggesting they should take an omega-3 supplement. A whole nother podcast is figuring out which omega-3 supplement to take because they're not all created equal. So that gets complicated too, which is why I always say get some kind of person in this space that can at least help you direct you to the proper types of supplements because the EPA and DHA, that's a thing. And you can see that ratio in your body also on that omega-3 test. So we'll link up the test if anyone's ever interested, but it's an at-home finger stick. And then Megan, we're going to have the subset of people who are going to listen to this and tell us we're bastardizing the omega-6s and we're guilty of being ignorant of the food deserts and the scarcity problem. Where do you stand on that and how do you explain that to people?
Yeah. And here's the thing, we know these food deserts exist, and it's where these residents have limited access to supermarkets or stores offering a variety of this fresh and healthy food. And then these areas may rely on things like small grocers, convenience stores, food vendors, and it's a lot of highly processed foods. So we realize that some of the foods we're talking about today, which it's funny, like sardines and things have been around so long, I don't know many people who know exactly where to buy things like sardines, fresh fish, grass-fed meat if they live in a food desert. They just don't know. And the big thing there is we talked about keeping these foods shelf stable. So unfortunately, food deserts have a super high amount of omega-6s, keeping those foods stable. So the big thing here, when I have a client who's in a food desert, I say good, better, best. Just like the omega-3, omega-6 ratio, there's good, better, best. We could say, ideally, you want to have an abundance of omega-3s, but honestly, if you just cut back your omega-6 tomorrow, you may not be ideal, but you are still going to decrease your overall mortality risk. So in this case, I still like to educate those in food deserts because there's still something we can do. We can still decrease packaged processed foods that have these seed oils that are heavy in omega-6s that really can increase overall mortality, as we've discussed.
Yeah, and I think, and I hope this, I always feel like, this, I don't want it to come across the wrong way, but I think they're two separate issues, right? They're not the same issue. So we can't stop educating or just say that processed foods are okay because we think that that's the prevalent food that's available. Even if you're going into a 7-Eleven, and this is always where I hesitate, does this sound insensitive? And this is not how it's meant. But if you go into 7-Eleven, you can get an apple. You can get a package of hard-boiled eggs. Like Megan said, there's good, better, and best. There's no one forcing you to go in that convenience store and buy Doritos. But I get it. Mac and cheese, what is that? It's in a box. It's $1.50. I get it. I don't want to sound insensitive to it, but I think they're two separate problems, and we still have to educate. That's our job. That's what we can control. The other parts, of course, we want to see this where these don't exist. We want farmers markets or at least some kinds of food, whole nutrient-dense food to be more attainable. Not everybody can shop at Whole Foods and Sprouts. We know that one of the problems is that people can't afford to live like we'd like to live. That shouldn't be the case. That goes back and starts at the food system and why we have to get some of the detrimental things out of these products. So hopefully seed oils, which I think they are, on the agenda eventually. So we just wanted to make it clear that Megan and I are not insensitive to this. This is not what's meant by talking about these seed oils. I just think that the people in the economic bracket that have to deal with this also, they're the ones that aren't going to afford the health care when they get sick. And so what can we do under the current situation to help them make a decision that's going to serve them a little bit more in the long run, again, with a good, better, best suggestion. So fair enough?
I love that, Kristi. That is so well said. I actually was just speaking to a friend earlier today, and I said, you pay in health and maybe inconvenience now, or you pay in sickness later. So I've seen clients who live in food deserts who have to drive an hour and get a chest freezer and bring the meats back and try not to shop at those convenience stores. But like you said, there are better options out there now. There's frozen fruits and frozen vegetables and things like that. And we are not insensitive. We know that everybody's going to have their issues, but I think now is the best time ever if you're in a food desert, because I do think change is coming, which is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And now we're going to move on to something that's probably going to be really surprising to people because you sort of mentioned it earlier, but you glossed over it. But we're going to dig deeper into it. So seed oils are not only a problem in processed foods, they're also in cosmetics. So Megan decided to take action in this area, which I love. And we'll talk about that in a second. But what are the red flags with seed oils in cosmetics?
Yeah. So let's get down to that. So which first off, I always like to give a nice blanket statement. I will have the most amazing clients who are like, I won't put that in my mouth. I will not eat that. I will not drink that. But then they will lather their skin with the most toxic crap I've ever seen. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, we got to talk about how your skin is your body's largest organ. It's an organ. It's sucking things in. Like, that is how it works. So a lot of these natural skincare brands love to brag about how they're clean and non-toxic, but you flip the label over and you'll find these industrial seed oils, especially sunflower, soybean, grapeseed. They might even be called other names. And then in parentheses, it'll say grapeseed oil. That's the best one. And these oils are packed with these unstable polyunsaturated fats. It oxidizes the second it hits heat, light, or air. And then you put it on your skin and it floods your skin with something called free radicals, which sets the stage for inflammation, aging, and long-term damage. We talk about antioxidants in fruits, vegetables, and all these great things, but the free radicals is what the antioxidants fight. Free radicals cause damage. So it even gets worse from there because the seed oils are chemically extracted, like I mentioned earlier. But when it's used in skincare, a lot of times they're also bleached and deodorized so they don't smell like anything, or so you could layer in fragrance, natural fragrance, which is not natural, and we could do a whole podcast episode on that. And then they sometimes do high heat, so it's a chemical cocktail creating these toxic byproducts like trans fats and aldehydes, which might make your skin look better. It's kind of crazy. You put on this cream that's, again, seed oil. It's got like styrene and benzene, and it tightens your skin and it minimizes your pores. But it's because it's a toxin. It's just like when you feel good when you have that first drink of alcohol. Yeah, it's a toxin. The acute effect is, oh, this is great. My skin looks better. But the chronic effect is your body is absorbing this, and these are very toxic chemicals, and toxic seed oils, I would even say, fall under that chemical because of how they're treated and put into the skincare we're using.
Yeah, and the greenwashing is so frustrating.
Oh my gosh.
It makes it so hard on the consumer, right? Because you're not sure. Because you're like, oh, I read this. So we always say, like, always go to EWG, and the first thing you need to do is check what you are using. Maybe you are using something that's vetted and it is safe, but we could do another podcast on the vocabulary used in advertising in this country that people get away with that you may think what you think is true is not. You know, like when you get a sugar-filled cereal that says heart healthy on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You know, like we can make a whole podcast on all that.
Yeah.
But I think all of that's well said. So, Megan, when you want something done, you do it yourself. So what did you do in the realm of this?
Yeah, well, after a lot of time looking at different lotions and things like that and finding, and you mentioned the EWG, and just a side note on that, I found something today at Costco, and the EWG rating was like a 1, which is supposed to be good, but it said limited information available. And the second ingredient was like benzene and styrene, which we test for, but the EWG was trying to say there wasn't enough information on this product to know if it was bad, but we know what that leads to. So anyway, I'm getting off topic, but this is what has just led me down the rabbit hole of, if I wouldn't ingest it, why would I put it on my skin? So I went through a process where I started making my own tallow creams, olive oil based creams, lotions, things like that. And I was doing it for about a year or so, and I had friends and family who wanted to start buying it and utilizing it. So that's how I created my own tallow-based skincare company, seed oil free, and that's called Wildborn Tallow. So it's been a really exciting last few months of finally launching it, even though I've been making this product and perfecting the proprietary process of rendering down the tallow and purifying it from regenerative farms in my area right outside of Philadelphia. It's been really exciting. It actually just released about a month ago. So it's been very fun that if I don't like how something is done, I'm just going to do it myself.
And it's like we talk about this all the time. Like we offer services quite a bit as coaches, but very rarely do we have our own products. Like we have products, we'll say, okay, if you need a red light, here's a red light. If you need a EMF mat or a sauna blanket, we'll give you these brands you can use. So it's very rare that we get to create our own things. So I thought that was really cool. I think there's going to be some popular questions that are going to be asked about this. But what I think is most important to know, just what Megan is saying, there's less ingredients is more, whether we're talking about food or talking about skincare. So it's the same thing. And so like what she's saying, we're minimizing the ingredients. And for me, the less I have to guess what benzene and whatever else, zine and ene that I'm going to see,
ethylene, styrene,
oxide, whatever IDE I see on the end of something, the less I have to go look all those up myself, the easier it is. And we're all for what creates ease. So what are the benefits of tallow and why does it work so well for skincare?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I will try not to bore anybody too much about this, but the first thing is tallow is biologically compatible with our skin. So it closely mimics the oils our skin naturally produces, like sebum, and it's naturally non-comedogenic, meaning it won't clog pores. We think oil, we think it's going to clog the pores, but the body, again, absorbs it. It does not clog pores. I could say that is emphatically proven. I don't care who you talk to or what you say. I could prove that 9 different ways from Sunday. So it is absorbed and it is a little bit, you put it on, there's a little bit of a film within 5-10 minutes, it's completely gone because again, your body is absorbing it. Kristi,
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting some on now. I mean, if you're watching the video, you can see it. It kind of goes on with a little sheen, like when you first put it on.
Yep. That's what you want.
And I was telling you what difference, just to piggyback off of everything you're saying, I had been doing it. Megan was so kind to let me try all of this because I was also into minimizing the cost and minimizing the amount of products. And my one friend noticed right away the difference in my hands and how much younger my hands looked better, like less wrinkly. So talk more about these benefits because I know there's more.
Yeah, and that's a great question too because again, these acute creams and stuff that tighten things up, and again, it's toxins are tightening things up in these very chemical heavy and seed oil heavy products, where tallow is delivering these bioavailable non-synthetic vitamins that actually heal the skin and the skin barrier. So it doesn't just sit on top of the skin, it goes in, like you mentioned, and it supports a wide range of skin issues, things like eczema, psoriasis, acne, scarring, barrier repair. And it's because it has these key nutrients that, again, we're trying to mess with nature here. You'll see a lot of like retinols and vitamin A creams that are synthetic and can actually cause cancer and cellular damage if you go out in the sun with them. That's not the case with actual vitamin A, which actually boosts cell regeneration and collagen production naturally long. So by having that vitamin A soaking through the skin, your body is going to automatically produce more collagen, which tightens the skin and can heal things and do that cellular turnover. It has vitamin D, which supports the healing and repair, vitamin K, which actually has been shown to fade dark spots and improve elasticity, and then vitamin E. We talk about vitamin E a lot with the skin. Again, bioavailable vitamin E is going to be best. Our body knows it and doesn't need to convert it. It protects against skin damage with powerful antioxidant support. So there's even some studies that frequent use of tallow can help minimize damage from UV rays and over time of even like wrinkles, scarring, things like that. So that's the vitamins is where you're getting that punch long term.
And then redness, the itching, the irritation, that works too. And then the most important thing probably is that it's resistant to oxidation. So we're not going to have to deal with this. We don't have to worry about it being shelf stable, right?
Exactly. I do a very specific process. So all of my tallow starts off as suet. straight fat from local regenerative farms. As I said, in the Philadelphia area, they're farms I have vetted. I know the farmers personally. I know that their cows are treated right. And then I get that fat and I render it very slowly. I wash it, I purify it over a multi-day process. It takes me a long time. Again, I've been at this a while now, and it makes it naturally stable, resistant to oxidation, and it's not going to cause any long-term skin damage the way unstable oils can. And I always like to give a little byproduct on this. Remember, it is still a natural oil. So over time, you're going to have to replace this product, but nothing lives forever.
Right.
Nothing lives forever, but what's in the earth and sky? Yeah, that's true. So what I like to say is it's got a 6-month shelf life. 6-month shelf life. But if you're utilizing this daily, which the body butter goes on the body, I normally use it once or twice a day, once being after a shower. The balm unscented I use on my face every night as a night cream. So if you're utilizing this daily, it shouldn't last more than 6 months anyway in a jar. And then you come to me, I make it in a small batch, you get a new one. So very stable, but after 6 months, buy some new stuff.
What are the difference in the offerings, so you can explain to them the offerings that you have, so everyone kind of knows when they go to your website to look, they understand kind of what the differences are?
Yep. The two main products right now are the body butter. It's a whipped body butter, which helps you use it all over. That's what Kristi has. It's nice and thick. It's exactly how it should be. Yep. And a little goes a long way. And it is 99% tallow. It is purified grass-fed tallow. There's a little bit of extra virgin olive oil that I have sourced from quality sources that is 100%, no fake olive oil here. And then you can get either unscented with no essential oils, you can get vanilla or lavender. And the body butter is great. All over, you could use it on everything from dry skin to stretch marks to sunburn, daily moisturizer. And then on the other hand, there's the balm, the BALM. And the balm I like to use as a night cream, but also, again, you can use if you have little patches of psoriasis. I have some clients who have alopecia who will do like an oil on their hair. So the night before they're going to shower, they'll mix a little bit of the balm in their hands, they'll melt it, and they'll actually put it on their scalp because it helps regenerate hair growth as well. So I would say if you're sensitive to any scents and smells, always get unscented. Otherwise, the lavender's my favorite. I just have friends who requested the vanilla, so I made it. But I'm a lavender body butter, and I do unscented on the balms. And within the next month or so, we're probably going to have some tallow soaps too, but maybe by the time people listen this, it'll be out. But that'll be a little bit down the road. We're aiming for like end of summer, early fall for that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. I'm getting the lavender next. So that's favorite. Next on my list because I've got the vanilla and it smells delectable. Because I think that's what people are going to ask. What does it smell like? Is it greasy? Those are the things you're going to get.
Yep.
Those are the questions you're going to get.
Yep. And it absorbs very quickly. I would say within 10 to 15 minutes, I've timed it. It absorbs. It's an oil. I mean, we have to understand that I do have a couple clients who love it, but they're like, I just feel like it's a little greasy when I first put it on. I'm like, there's no way around it. It's supposed to be. But that's why you do it right after a shower or a bath or the night before. But it usually absorbs in, you see it 5-10 minutes. Yeah. And the unscented, I purified it. It does not smell like a burger. There can be a little mild, almost like tallow, buttery smell that also dissipates after 10 to 15 minutes.
I agree. Yeah.
I do have, friends and family and clients who are like, I just always want to do lavender because I want to smell good. Me, I'll smell a little bit like butter.
Well, you get the calming effect of the essential oil too, right? So that's a good side benefit to that too. Yep. And then what I also noticed is glass jars, right?
Yes.
So all of this whole process, the way you're packaging it, better for the environment.
100% better for the environment, from the packaging to the fact that tallow is zero waste and sustainable. It's, pure, it's toxin free, there's no chemicals, no pollution in the process, and it supports these amazing regenerative farms and healthier ecosystems. And on top of all that, you'll sometimes get some tallow skincare that you'll find. You won't know where it's from, who purified it, how they did it, or it's in plastic, which I'm like, great. That tallow is now breaking down the plastic of the jar, and then you're rubbing the microplastics on your skin. This tallow from cow to the jar in your hand does not see any plastic besides the lid because it just keeps it closed well. That's it.
Yep, and it's not even touching the lid.
Nope.
So, nope.
You got it.
That's what we're saying is like, you just don't know. I mean, tallow was like a TikTok craze for a while too. And it's like, I just don't know if I don't know the person and I don't know what they're doing and You've got to read through all the kind of BS on the labels, like I'm saying. That's why I thought it was important to get this out and let people know, okay, here's an option, and I think it's more affordable. It's more,
Yes.
we're talking about affordability. This is more affordable than most skincare lines.
Yes.
This is more affordable. So I know you're going to tell people how to reach out to you, and you got a treat for our listeners.
I do. Yes. So of course you can always email me. I always say, whether it's about tallow or anything, you can always email me at megan@primalhealthconsulting.com. But as far as the tallow goes, www.wildborntallow.com. And I have a 20% off, basically, for no end date in sight for all of our favorite listeners. So the discount code is RIPPLE, RIPPLE 20, the number 20. So RIPPLE 20, and you get 20% off, and that's any products. So whatever you want. I always say I'm not saying I'm Amazon Prime, but I have had quite a few friends and family who are like, this came here in 2 to 3 days. Like it was, like, I think yours, you're all the way in Florida. I'm in Philadelphia. I think it got to you in like 3 days.
Yeah. No, it's really good, and you're not paying $20 or $18 for shipping, because that happens a lot too. Cheap price, and then you're like, wait, I'm paying what? $20 to ship
paying
this
more
little
for
jar?
shipping than the product itself. Nope.
Yeah, that's never fun.
I partnered with UPS with some deals there because they ship very quickly. It's usually temperature controlled, and it's all great. So yeah, I pride myself on the priority shipping.
Do you want to tell them at all too? Because I know that we were talking about this because we were thinking about it, because you're shipping to me in Florida and it's warm here. So what if the tallow is being shipped somewhere warm?
Yes, and this is a great topic. I've shipped now to Florida, Denver, the Carolinas. It's kind of been all over the last 2 months, and it's been great. And here's the thing, and we're talking about oil. Think like butter. At room temperature, it's soft. And then if it gets hotter than room temperature, it can melt a little bit. Here's the thing, it will reconstitute. You can just keep it out at room temperature. You can even store it in the fridge. So if you get it and it's a little bit melted, again, unless somebody literally torched it, because tallow can handle very, very high heat and it still be stable. So unless somebody put a literal flame to it, it is perfectly fine if it melted in transit. Just let it sit out at room temperature. It'll be perfectly fine in a few hours, or you could toss it in the fridge. I actually keep one of the balms in the fridge because I sometimes have rosacea and facial flushing, and when I put the balm on, it's nice and cool. It's very refreshing. If it melts a little bit, don't worry, it's supposed to do that.
Perfect. So not only can you cook your fries in it, you can actually make skincare products out of it. So hopefully we're going to be in a world where people can go to restaurants and have their fries cooked in tallow again, and people can use this for their skincare. And it'll be it'll be like a do-it-all. So Megan, thanks for the information on this, and I know we'll have more to say. If there's anything left for people to think about today, we just want you to understand the seed oils, that the context matters, the quantity matters. So if you can think about reducing those omega-6s a little bit and increasing omega-3s, possibly looking into supplementation, you can contact one of us. We'll help you with that. But that's kind of the theme of the day, right? And then go lather on some tallow while you research if you want. Thanks for joining us, Megan.
Yes, thank you so much. Can't wait for next time.
One more note on the way out. Earlier in the podcast, I mentioned a way you can let someone else do the vetting for you. Seed Oil Scout is an app you can download to your phone, and it will let you know the restaurants in the area that don't use seed oil. So if this is going to be something that you're going to prioritize, this is a pretty awesome tool to have. They're also going to expand their offerings into having a marketplace with vetted grocery products. Go to seedoilscout.com for more information on this, and this is really cool. They're putting a premium and a focus on testing coming up in 2025. They're going to start testing partner suppliers for purity and rancidity and working with lab partners to help reduce microplastics, phytalates, mycotoxins, pesticide residues, and heavy metals in products. We need these kind of things to happen, so anything we can do to support these folks, we should do it. A reminder when it comes to these seed oils, blanket statements don't work. Context matters. You need to know your ratios, and you need to see how the seed oil is actually processed if you're going to consume. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media and let us know what resonated most. You can find full show notes at kristihujik.com/podcast. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to like, follow, review, and share the podcast with anyone who might benefit. And a quick review on Apple Podcasts goes a long way in helping me bring more amazing guests your way. Stay tuned for the next episode of Ripple Effect Connection. Together, let's create waves of change.